right.
Here's one.
All right, here we go. Hello and welcome back in the trenches. We are live from Phoenix, Arizona with a very special guest. Many of you may know him from TikTok or YouTube. The self-proclaimed transfer portal expert has over 100,000 followers and has become the most reliable transfer portal source out there. Rico Knows, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Budge, man. Long time. You know, we've known each other for a while. We've been following each other for a while, so I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, you're an OG, Rico. I appreciate the support early on. But before we get into college football, because there are some great games, best slate of the season so far, easily, as week 1 was a lot of fluff and week 0 was only 7 games. But what do you got going on? What do you want the people to know before we get going?
Well, you know, for me, I make content all day long, right? Rico Knows. I'm only on 2 platforms, YouTube and TikTok. So I make content all day long. I want people to watch the content. I always tell people, I'm not here to debate. I'm here to educate. I don't want to argue with people. I don't like the format that you see on ESPN or anything of that nature. I know what I have. I know what I bring to the table, and I know what I have to offer, which is an immense amount of research and data and just case studies and an articulate way of distributing it and displaying it to the masses. And I hope that they're there to ingest it. I do a live stream every single day, 6 days a week. On Saturdays, I just watch the games. Leave me alone. But I do work Sunday through Friday. There's nobody working harder. There's nobody grinding more. Having been in the military for 20 years, I'm used to waking up early. I'm used to working long hours. It means nothing to me, so here I am. I'm doing something I love. But every single day at 5 p.m. Eastern, I do a live stream on YouTube. You guys can come watch it and enjoy the show. We talk football like you wouldn't believe.
And just to confirm, that's at Rico Knows on both YouTube and TikTok, correct?
That's correct. You can search it as one word or 2 words. Knows, Knows, but RICOKNOWS. You can put it in 1 word or 2 words. It doesn't matter. You'll find me.
All right. There we go. Perfect. Crazy schedule there. And we were talking about just before we went live here. You started this in December, I think was what you ended up realizing. That's pretty crazy. I mean, what do you have to credit to blowing up that fast?
So, first and foremost, if everybody always asks me, hey, Rico, how'd you get started? What do you do? Number one, I feel like this has been a long time coming for me, like a lifetime of commitment to obtaining sports information, obviously retaining it and then applying it. I used to be a sports journalist. I used to be a sports writer. Joined the military for 20 years, but those 20 years, I was focused on sports. I studied everything. I retain it all. I've never missed a March Madness, an NFL draft. You know, everything that matters to me, I've been about it. But I'm passionate about it, and when I started my TikTok, I initially started as like giving life advice. I've lived a long life. I know a lot about relationships, and I was making thirst traps, but nobody wants to see a 40-year-old man dancing with his shirt off. So at some point, right before I went to bed one night, somebody wrote a comment on a like Barstool Sports video. They wrote a comment and they said, Coach Prime is not an X's and O's coach. He will fail. And I felt some type of way about that. I didn't think they understood the value of the man and what he brings to the table. So instead of arguing with people via text with my Twitter fingers, I went ham. I said, reply, make a video. And I started talking. And I lit into that person, said, you don't know your ass from a hole in the ground, and started explaining who Sean Lewis was, who Coach Prime is, how head coaches work, how their coordinators work, how their positions coaches work, and I went to bed. And I woke up the next morning, and I had 350,000 views. Easily my most viewed video. And I said, oh, my God. And all they all kept writing was, this guy knows ball. He knows what he's talking about. Who is this guy? And it was just the rapid delivery. And I said, let me try that again. And I did it again. And I did it again. So my point and that I want to tell everybody is be passionate, be consistent, but it's about the content. And at some point I identified there was a huge gap. And this is kind of ingenious, right? Everybody covers recruiting. Everybody covers the NFL. Everybody covers basketball and baseball and all this stuff. Where's your niche? Where can you separate yourself from the masses? And for me, it was the transfer portal. I looked at the transfer portal. I realized nobody knows it. The recruiting services pretend to know it. And I just started dominating with the transfer portal, doing all the reports, studying all the players. I knew who they were because I'm passionate about it. And that was the niche that kind of catapulted me. And I've had some other ingenious ideas. High school film review. Just this week, I got my first kid that I did a film review on with no offers. He's got a visit to La Tech this weekend. So a kid, 0 stars, no offers, and La Tech reached out to me and said, hey, who's that kid? Where can we find him? How can we locate him? And I gave them all the pertinent information, and he's taking a trip this weekend. I'm ecstatic that I can use my channel, my platform, to get these guys more publicity, more eyeballs, and, even a 0-star kid like that. And that's one of those ingenious ideas. I can't even tell you how many views I have on high school film reviews. It goes through the roof. And I have 1,000 kids. I'm not exaggerating. 1,000 DMs from high school kids waiting for me to review their film. So anytime there's a slow day out there and there's nothing to talk about, I can just go watch one of those films and hopefully give them some shine. I love having this platform to be able to do that. It's an exciting time for me.
Yeah, and that is making an impact. We will be talking transfer portal 100% for sure. Before that, going to talk about one more thing. Also going to shout out the TikTok live chat. You guys aren't going to be able to hear Rico Knows' sweet melodic voice unless you hop into the YouTube, which is going to be linked in my bio, or you can just look up at CF Budge. We are live right now with Rico Knows, just for those that are confused in the chat right now. But this is the way I like to lead off the show with the guests. Best thing you saw this week, it can be football related or not, if there was something else you saw that made an impact on you.
So, not to sound, I'm Rico. I'm pretty consistent. So the best thing I saw this week was every proclamation, every assessment of the transfer portal coming true. Straight up. I've been talking all off season about these transfer portal classes, my impact rankings that nobody knew about. Like, people were like, what are you making this shit up for? What is this metric you're talking? And I said, no, guys, listen to me. These teams are going to be so improved next year because of the portal. I felt so vindicated to actually have somebody out there like just hate me and think I don't have a clue what I'm talking about, and not say you're eating crow, but to come back and go, holy shit, those rankings were accurate. That has been the greatest thing I saw all week. I can't even begin to tell you. I sat here. I got 26,000 followers this weekend. 26,000.
It absolutely blew up. A lot of your videos did this weekend.
I'm just sitting there just watching. I'm looking at my significant other. She's so beautiful. I'm looking at Kim Jones, and I go, I knew I was right, but I didn't know I was this right. So it's been a really good feeling. Yeah, that's the greatest thing I saw so far this weekend for sure.
Yeah, I mean, not to ruin the segue, because the next we're talking about is transfer portal, but I was in San Jose. I saw Oregon State travel to play the Spartans. That Oregon State offensive line in person, it is a thing of beauty. The only other time I've been able to watch them was when they came to ASU last year. But the way those guys pave over the defense is unbelievable, especially considering none of those guys are blue chip recruits. None of those guys are guys that are blowing up the national media, but you saw a lot of them were preseason All-Americans and preseason All-Conference, and to me it's insane that a school such as Oregon State has been able to put in a system that's produced that kind of offensive line play.
It's frustrating to me that people didn't watch them in the bowl game against Florida, because if you watch them in the bowl game against Florida, you realize this is a perennial power that no one's going to talk about because of their location, because they're little brother in the state. But their players and their coaching staff, I haven't seen someone do more with less outside of K-State, right? So, they're developing right. Jonathan Smith is amazing. I love how dominant Oregon State is. That's a dark horse like you wouldn't believe, and I hate calling them a dark horse because they should get respect.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and that might be partially because I grew up an Oregon State fan. But
I didn't know that.
I want you to say you didn't know that.
No.
I used to be very public about that, but people would instantly turn that on me. Like, I'm pretty low on Washington this year, and every time I'd say that, people would go, oh, that's because you're an Oregon State fan. And I'd say, okay, I'm done with that. So I pretend I'm a Texas fan, and I pretend there's another team I pretend I'm a fan of sometimes. But I do like Texas, for the record. But something for Oregon State that I think is underrated is that offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, Lindgren and Trent Bray, I believe, is the defensive coordinator. Those guys are so underrated. And one of the things I'm most grateful for as an Oregon State fan is that our quarterback play was so terrible last year that it made Brian Lindgren not look great. And that means we get to keep him for another year, which I think could make this year especially special.
Right. Offense and defensive coordinators at the Power 5, get hired to be head coaches. Period. As soon as they're successful, they go get another opportunity. So having them and the continuity is real. But hey, Budge, I did watch an old video of yours. Are you ready? You predicted DJ wasn't going to be the starting quarterback. Tell the truth.
Yeah, I did. So that was a little experimental, I'm not going to lie. But for me, that take in particular, which a little questionable, and I've had a few questionable takes over the offseason, but I'm still new into the digesting data, digesting information, learning how to break down film, learning how to break down and have observations and takeaways.
Sure.
For me, what that was I don't know. I really thought that it was interesting that Jonathan Smith had elected to pick Gulbranson as the guy, even when Chance Nolan got more healthy, and even when Jebbia was there, and maybe he wasn't what he used to be because of his ankle injury. I just found that very interesting, despite how poorly it appeared he played at times. I thought that Gulbranson's receiver play wasn't good. Yes, they had a dominant run game. There were moments Gulbranson looked like a complete idiot, but there was also moments where he had some decent throws and was making decent plays. So I think I parlayed that with a little bit of DJ doubt, because I was kind of one of the biggest DJ haters when he was at Clemson. So that was a little outlandish, a little out there, but it was something that I thought I had a good opinion on just because I was close with the Oregon State program, but it didn't age very well.
No. Here's what happens, okay? And I want to say this, and I'm not here to, pat myself on the back or anything like that. Obviously, I don't know if you have any playing experience, coaching experience.
So I played in high school. I didn't play any collegiate stuff, though.
Right. So I only played in high school. I only coached when I was younger. Okay, I haven't coached in the last 20 years. Some of my old players, they come out and they join my chat and stuff. They call me coach. These players, I coached them 20 years ago. What I'll tell you, though, is that there's a certain perspective, like seriously, you have to see it from a certain perspective. And you didn't go wrong by overvaluing Gulbranson. You went wrong by undervaluing an amazing quarterback, right? DJU is actually a really good quarterback. And the problem is he's in an offensive system at Clemson that wasn't conducive to great quarterback play. And he was going through a really personal issue. Okay, you didn't know this, but his mother was cheating on his father. And so there was a problem there internally. He would get out of practice, get out of school, and he would be going through these things. And that's why he struggled like he did. I still think he's an elite level quarterback. Okay, and he's going to play out of his mind at Oregon State. But when you miss on a prediction, it's because of fandom. It's because you have favoritism or fandom of a particular player or a system or a coach, right? You got to somehow keep that intact, keep it in check, and call it like you see it. But you just got to see more, and you'll be more accurate the more you see. I think you're very analytical. I think you're a smart guy. You just got to see more. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Do this for 4 or 5 years, and you will be sharp as shit.
Hey, that's exactly the type of stuff I've been thinking about as well. That will come as I get more reps in, essentially. But in the context of that pick and all that stuff, I can't really remember what I was going to say here. This is the kind of insider info that only you can provide. See, I had no way of knowing that there was the stuff, the personal stuff DJ was dealing with.
Yeah.
But I think for me, part of it actually too was I was almost hedging my Oregon State stuff, just almost banking on, okay, there's no way, this is too good to be true. We couldn't have got a 5-star. He's going to be trash. Almost hedging that from a personal fan bias, which I've known to do sometimes, occasionally, and I don't do this anymore because I've got to be reliable in my locks now that people actually bet on them. But a lot of the stuff I used to do, I would just hedge. I'd do a depression bet where I just bet against the Beavs, or I'd bet against a team I really liked. So
there's something. It's called resiliency. Okay, so resiliency. When you think something goes wrong, let's say your girlfriend calls you, and she says we need to talk, and she says we need to talk. I'm coming over, and she hangs up.
Okay, red flag right there.
Red flag right there. Well, the first thing you should do in the world of resiliency is immediately think the worst thing possible. She caught me cheating. She found an old email. She found an old text. I did something wrong. I forgot to do this, whatever it is. The worst thing possible. And then you need to think the greatest thing possible. She's coming over. She hit the lottery. She wants to split it with me. She's ready to get married. There's no one else for her. Whatever it is, right? So you think the worst. She's pregnant. You think the greatest, everything's okay. And the reality is probably somewhere in between, right? So if you attack every life-altering situation like that, I teach this to soldiers in the military all the time. When you come across an issue, I want you, so you don't catastrophize, so you don't go down this spiral of these poor, horrible decisions and all this stuff. I want you to think of the absolute worst thing it could be, the absolute worst. I'm losing my job. I'm going to be bankrupt. I'm going to be homeless. I'm winning the lottery. It's going to be somewhere in between. And you need to, check yourself like that. So with your predictions, let me tell you, you picked Clemson. How were you feeling? How were you feeling watching that game?
It was a thing for me where I was feeling fine after the first half. I was like, you know what? New offensive coordinator, Klubnik still, maybe a little shaky on the road, night game. Duke's a great team. I had Duke winning 8 or 9 games in the regular season. I knew that they, Riley Leonard's a beast, Mike Elko. Of course, everybody parades around and acts like, oh, wow, look at these guys we've discovered. But we've known about them since last year when they won 9 games, which most people probably didn't even know that. A lot of people probably go to Wikipedia and have just seen that. For me, the Clemson pick, and this is something that I think is another thing that I'll pick up as I go, but for me, the Clemson pick, I didn't want to pick one of the top dogs. Just based off a principle. I didn't want to pick Georgia to three-peat. I didn't want to pick Ohio State or Bama or Michigan because those are the top 4 odds-on favorites. And I wanted to look outside of that at some other teams. And what was really attractive to me about Clemson was a lot of their continuity on the defensive side of the ball from a championship-level defense. They had a down year last year, and they won every ACC game. They had Barrett Carter, Jeremiah Trotter, R.J. Mixon. They had so many guys on the defensive side of the ball that I really liked. And then I looked and said the offense is the reason they came up short on a lot of their goals last season. And with their offense, yes, there were questions about weapons at receiver, but I knew that they had Will Shipley and Phil Maffa. I knew they had Cade Klubnik, who I thought, and I still do think, he has a lead upside as a former 5-star. And what was he, the number 1 quarterback or number 2 maybe a year ago or 2 years ago? And Garrett Riley. I really thought Garrett Riley was one of the key cogs in the wheel that made TCU spin last year. Especially when you look at what he did everywhere he went, given it was with Sonny Dykes. So I guess you can take that maybe not as hard as I took it with Garrett Riley. But for me, I just saw a team, and I was like, I'm going to bank a lot on them. And I was aware they didn't use the transfer portal, and that could have been an issue. But for me, I just looked at a system that had championship infrastructure recently, and I said, I think I can trust that. I can trust that more than I trust Penn State, also because Clemson's one hurdle is going to be Florida State in the ACC. I thought at the time, in the form of a team that did really well in the portal, but I thought maybe that extra little blue chip ratio Clemson has over Florida State, especially because they host the Seminoles. I've got the mag right here. I've got the preview mag. When I was making it, final edits before I was publishing it. This was back in June, I think, start of June. I literally had Florida State beating Clemson and winning the ACC. And then last second, I was like, this is stupid. I'm not doing that. I flipped it, and I said, you know what? We're going to ride with Clemson. We're really going to do this. And that's what I went with. And so, obviously, hindsight is 2020. I've got a lot of hindsight merchants in my comment section right now that probably were a little scared. But, yeah, it obviously hasn't aged very well. I don't think Clemson's only going to win 5 games like everyone's making it seem like this year. I don't think they're this year's A&M or anything crazy like that. They'll probably still win 8 or so, or maybe 9. Maybe they can push double digits if the offense looks significantly better because it's the ACC, and that's just how it works. But definitely did not age well, and I've already got a new national title pick. So.
No. You don't get to pick a new national title pick. Let's be clear. One loss doesn't take you out of the national title picture.
That's true.
That is what you told me. So I watched your video. They're still on the eliminator wall. One loss, they can still run the table. So you still got to rock with them. You don't get to switch teams. Until they're out, I will let you switch teams if your team is no longer available, no longer in the running. I'll let you switch teams. But in all fairness, and I'm being joking, I'm being facetious. But listen to me, Budge. I'll say this to you, and I want to ask you a question. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what is the benefit of guessing the national champion before the season?
No, honestly, that's something I thought about too. And in context, I think what you're referring to is actually posting who you think is going to win the national title.
What's the benefit?
Exactly. There's not a lot of upside because there are 133 3 teams at the FBS level, and you're more likely to be wrong than you are to be right. And it's hard. It's really hard because last season you could have picked Alabama to win your national title.
No.
You might not have been necessarily wrong, but they lost 2 one-score games in crazy fashion. And so, I mean, I agree to an extent that making a national title pick preseason is kind of a lose-lose.
So it's not that it's a lose-lose. Listen, first and foremost, it's a guess, not a genuine prediction, because you don't even know. Like, Clemson could win the ACC this year and still not go to the playoffs, just like last year, right? So you're not even predicting. It's absurd to try to predict the winner of it all. I've made 3,000 videos. You never once heard me say this is a playoff team or this is the national championship team. I don't even go there. I talk about who's going to win this week, and we will reassess the next week and the next week. And when you take it 1 week at a time, your batting average will be amazing. You will be so much theoretically, you will be so much more informed on your assessments. But when you try to sum up the whole season, if you're trying to sum up the whole season, let me tell you this. That is trying to put the preseason poll to predict the outcome. How many group of 5 teams are in the preseason poll but end up in the final poll? Right? So many. So if I'm telling you Wisconsin might win 11 games, I tell you Oklahoma might win 11 games, then why the hell are they ranked in the 20s? If you think they're going to win 11 games, they should be in your top 10.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's completely valid. And that's something I dealt with when I was making the magazine, too. And I was formulating my top 25. I was like, do I want this top 25 to reflect the preseason, or do I want it to reflect the postseason? And that was something I went back and forth on. I think I did end up opting towards postseason, which was kind of funny because USC had them at 4th, which puts them above Bama and Ohio State. Do I think they're better than Bama and Ohio State? Not necessarily. Do I think they're going to make the playoffs over them? At the time, yes. So that 100% I think is something that people deal with. But at the end of the day, as you know, Rico, we get paid based on viewership. And gets a lot of viewership.
How dare you?
Predictions.
How dare you? How dare you?
That kind of stuff.
I feel you, man. I feel you. Next time, are you familiar with call to action, CTAs? Okay, so it's a strategy. It's a strategy. When you're doing content creation, when you end your video and you say,
"Oh yeah.
Hey, in the comments, let me know what you guys think." So, a CTA would have taken you really far, and you wouldn't have looked like, "Hey, I got the wrong answer in week 1." You know, I think you have so much information and so much knowledge. I love your videos. Right? I watch all your videos. I tell you this all the time. They're a great break from – I'm always creating content, and then I'll take a moment and I look at your videos. And over the last 9 months, you went from subjective, playful topics like, hey, what is this? What is just things where there's no wrong answer. And I love that. And you started segueing towards factual information and providing your assessment or your input on things. And I'm like, this kid's stepping up to the plate. Let's see where it's at, and you're gonna run into a much harsher reality, which is people are going to point out if you miss, when you miss, and you take it with all clicks are good clicks, so you take it in stride. I get it, brother.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it wasn't all bad in week 1. I had some pretty good predictions hit in week 1, and it's funny, despite the Clemson thing, it disguised a lot of the other things. I think I went like 6-1 on my national predictions last week. And like 5-2 against the spread.
I saw one of them you did really well. Which was the one you made fun of all the fan base and you made your video?
Boston College, man.
Oh, they're so terrible.
Fans they were feral on Twitter this offseason.
I don't mess with Twitter. Yeah, and that was fun to bask in that victory for a little bit. But I don't take anything too harshly on the internet, man. You could post just a plain blank screen and someone's gonna instantly reply with it's off-white. It's off-white. How dare you? It's off-white. Anyways.
Exactly. So yeah, let's jump into the transfer portal and talk about that a little bit, because 2 of the biggest, most emphatic wins that you're probably referencing earlier of the feeling vindicated from those results. Colorado beats TCU on the road. Obviously, that wasn't the same team that made the national title game, but it was still a nationally ranked team and a team a lot of people thought would win. They were 20-point favorites. And then Texas State, 27-point underdogs, another transfer portal team, goes on the road and beats Baylor. I mean, what does this say about the transfer portal? And did you see these coming? Which I think the answer is obviously.
Obviously, it sounds crazy. How the hell did I see all this coming? How did I make these predictions? What I'll tell you, Budge, is I believe the transfer portal has changed the way recruiting works. Okay, the traditional develop your roster, keep going. That's not happening anymore. What's happening now is if you miss in recruiting, you cut your dead weight with the transfer portal. You send your kids you don't want to the transfer portal. Georgia sent a defensive back to the transfer portal. His name escapes me right now. It's unfortunate because he's a local kid. He went to a high school like 10 minutes down the road. And they sent him to the portal after 1 year. Okay? This is a good kid, 4-star. He's at Louisville right now. But Georgia said, no, we need to sign 25 more kids out of high school. So we're going to get rid of our dead weight. And they just started cutting dudes. Now the players have reached out to me after spring. They do a spring exit meeting. They go to the coach, spring exit meeting. Coach says, hey, you're not a part of our plan moving forward. There's a way that coaches, there's an NCAA rule, I made a video on this, where they can just put you on scholarship, academic scholarship, let you finish out your degree, but you can't play football anymore. Or you have to transfer. So 10 guys at USC did this, and they stayed and finished their degree because they wanted a USC degree. More power to them. But their football careers are over. Lincoln Riley technically didn't pull their scholarship for academic reasons. He just didn't renew it. When you start seeing these coaches utilize the transfer portal to get rid of their dead weight, they're using the transfer portal. So Clemson uses the transfer portal. It's just they're not bringing in transfers. They're getting rid of their misses, and they're able to get more high school kids. So they're getting full recruiting classes, but that's what they're doing. So I started studying the transfer portal and looking at the different ways they're doing it. But, dude, the biggest transfer portal win this weekend was Florida State. This is Florida State. Florida State is so relevant and so good because of transfers. Jared Verse, right? Jordan, their quarterback. Wide receivers, both of them. 2 tight ends, right? The kid from Shorter, Kyle Murlock, and Jaheim Bell. 3 offensive linemen. Last year, Jamie Robinson. Like, the whole damn team is transfers. That's the biggest success story. Mike Norvell putting them on the map. Same thing that happened at Tennessee last year. Same thing that's happening with Washington and Michael Penix Jr. and Jeremy Bernard showing up from Michigan State. Like, people keep thinking the transfer portal is Colorado, Texas State, right? Oh, Rico, you called these guys at the bottom. How about the guys on top? Because they're using the transfer portal too. It's amazing. I love it.
It's true, and it's great for the sport, man. I mean, the amount of quarterbacks and the amount of big names that are able to find a spot, and not even just big names. You're talking about the smaller names, the guys who just get cut, having an opportunity to go help another school. I think it's also lend itself to the parity in college football.
Luke Altmaier just left Ole Miss. Couldn't see the field at Ole Miss. Just started a game for Illinois and won it for him. You know, there are kids out there. TJ Finley couldn't play at Auburn. Beats Baylor out of Texas State. There are quarterbacks everywhere. But remember, back in the day, if you went to a school and you didn't make it and you weren't in the 2 deep, you were pissed off in the locker room and coach was ostracizing you and coach was alienating you and making sure you weren't a part of the team. You were missing team meetings so they could kick you out. You ain't got to do all that shit anymore. You don't have to process a guy. You don't need disgruntled people in your locker room. They can just leave. We'll find more, and you can go find a home where somebody wants you, right? It's incredible.
Yeah, it's been really good, I think, for the sport, even though there's a lot of other dumb rules like that stupid running clock rule we've got this year.
Oh,
it's been shortening games.
More commercials. It's
Exactly.
more commercials, bro. It's a money grab.
Of all the portal teams that are getting praised right now after week 1, is there a team that you think is really going to shine because of their portal additions, maybe just because of something else that isn't getting the love necessarily after week 1, but you think is going to start getting some love maybe going forward?
I think Oregon State's going to get a lot of shine because of DJ Uiagalelei. Like, I really do. I think Oregon State's going to be competitive in their games, and they're going to be very dominant, physically dominant, right? They're a great coach team. I think Oregon State's going to get shine as the season goes on, but I also feel like Colorado, I know they're getting shine, but Colorado is going to win a bowl game. They're going to be on TV. They're going to be must-see TV. They can score with anybody. They really can. I've told everybody this. They have the best not the best. They have some of the best starting 22 players out there. Like, I looked at their starting 22 and said, where, who, what? And everybody thought I was crazy. And I'm like, no, guys, I've looked at them, compared them to other teams, and they're legit. So, yeah, I'm excited for Colorado and Oregon State.
Yeah, I think my off-season comparison for this Colorado team as things started to come together was the Arizona Wildcats from this last season, where you've got really, obviously, I think Shedeur is a little better than Delora, but you've got a great quarterback. You've got some elite weapons because they had Cowing and Singer, and then on here you got Hunter and some of the other Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards is such a beast, man. And I think that comparison was a little too conservative because that Arizona team last year won 5 games. This Colorado team, man, it looks like right now they're going to be operating more in the 6-7 range, and they're going to have some potential to upset some of those top teams.
Wait till Alton McCaskill gets healthy. Alton McCaskill the fourth gets healthy. Adam Hopkins gets healthy, or at least learns the offense. One of these freshmen in here, he can play both ways. If Cormani McClain can make the 2 deep, but I really feel like there's a kid at Arizona. His name's Luke, Rayshawn Luke or something like that. He's Dylan Edwards-esque. He's so fast, but he's like second or third string running back. He's a little guy. Well, he's a blazing fast guy. They have home run threats at Arizona. But for me, I love what Colorado's doing. I just thought of the team that's not getting any shine but does deserve it. And it's going to be Louisville. It's going to be Louisville.
Yes.
Louisville's good. They got a really easy schedule in the ACC. I believe if they can get themselves under control and actually win their games, they got a chance to win 9 to 11 games.
Yes, why not? They avoid Clemson and Florida State this year.
I'm just letting you know they might be in the ACC championship game. Yeah, they lose it because I think Florida State is the best team in the country physically. I don't think that I didn't put them ahead of USC because I really feel like USC. I watched their second game against Nevada. You guys don't understand how good they are. Like, they're bench warmers. The guys who can't play for them. Gary Bryant is at Oregon right now, just got 7 receptions, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Oregon. He couldn't even see the field at USC. It's amazing. Raleek Brown is not playing, and Raleek Brown is Reggie Bush 2.0, and he's not playing. He's literally third string. It's nuts.
Yeah, Zachariah Branch is one of those guys that came in and is just an absolute freak on the USC team. USC
Percy Harvin. He's Percy Harvin.
I don't understand. Yeah, I mean, you can throw that kind of phrase out. I'm not going to go that far yet. I still got to recover from the Clemson take. But USC, I don't understand how people spun the narrative last year, and obviously it's probably not people you should even be having conversations college football with, but people trying to say their season was a disappointment year 1. I mean, a whole nother year in Southern Cal with Lincoln Riley. What he's done with his roster, it's pretty unbelievable.
So not only did they dominate in recruiting and the transfer portal, they are also a product of the transfer portal, in case nobody remembers. They won a Heisman for the university, losing in the conference championship game due to an injury, losing your bowl game in the last 40 seconds, and your quarterback had 0 yards rushing. Go back and look at the box score. Caleb Williams did not run for any yards in that bowl game against Tulane. That man can run for 100 yards if he needs to. The man's a dual-threat quarterback. So it was injured. It was a disappointment to see them lose at the last second against Tulane. But I am convinced that they're just going to outscore teams. I'm serious. They're going to put up 50 points.
I mean, you look at the history of Lincoln Riley's career. People say that's the biggest knock on USC. They don't have a defense. Their defense is bad. Their defense is like, okay, guess what? Their defense can literally be bad, like genuinely bad this year, which I don't think it will be genuinely bad. And they can still make the play. He did it multiple times at Oklahoma.
Sure. Yeah.
So
see,
that's the thing.
Caleb Williams is better than Baker Mayfield. 100%
too.
Yep.
For those of you in the live on TikTok, remember you're not going to be able to hear Rico unless you are on the YouTube at CF Budge. Don't forget to follow at CF Budge on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and follow In the Trenches with Tyler Budge on Spotify, where you can hear this whole recording if you've been popping in and out on the YouTube or on the TikTok and you haven't caught the whole thing. Big shout out to Rico. Don't forget to follow him at Rico Knows on YouTube and TikTok. We're going to move forward to make some actual predictions here from the Week 2 slate, and we're going to start with a game. Number 10 Notre Dame, who hasn't played a team with a pulse yet, traveling to play NC State. Rico, who's a player to watch, and what's kind of your take on this game?
So a player to watch is Jack Kaiser. Jack Kaiser's a linebacker for Notre Dame. He leads them in tackles. Okay, I think he's got to spy this kid Armstrong, Brennan Armstrong from NC State. Armstrong he almost rushed for 100 yards the first game. I don't like the kid. I haven't told you guys this. This is real. This is just being real on real. Armstrong's uncle was my high school quarterback, okay? We all played together. His dad or his other uncle was my high school coach. I hate this family. I got real beef with the Armstrongs. I don't like them. So to see this kid, he looks like his own uncle. He looks like him. It drives me crazy when I see his face. I want to just minimize him. I'll never root for NC State. So, yeah, Jack Kaiser, the leading linebacker for Notre Dame, the leading tackler. I think he needs to stop this kid from running, and they'll be just fine.
We've got some personal beef factored into the take here. That's unique. Haven't had that yet. For me, it's going to be Aiden White and Shaheem Battle, and this entire secondary for NC State. You've got to stop Hartman from cooking you guys, because the moment Hartman gets it going with the running game that this Notre Dame team has, it's going to get ugly real quick if you let them do that. And it is so scary watching this Irish team because they are not two-dimensional this year. They have that downfield passing attack from Hartman, and my favorite thing to watch has been people pretending they discovered Hartman this year because no one watches Wake Forest football, or no one did last year. It's like the guy was a 4,000, maybe even 5,000-yard passer last year. And even the year before that, he's been great. I remember when Sam Howell was still at North Carolina. I remember the joke with me and my buddies was Sam Hartman was the best Sam H in North Carolina, and it turns out that aged pretty well. Although Howell, I think, is kind of cooking right now.
Howell's really good. But, don't do that.
Yeah, he's still good either way. But a lot of good Sam H's in that state. Rico, who's your pick in this game?
Obviously Notre Dame, and to be clear, Sam Hartman has had like 13,000 career passing yards. Like this is not a new quarterback. Nobody's discovering him. He's been around forever. But yeah, Notre Dame's going to win this game.
Yeah, I'm rocking with you. Picking the favorites, Notre Dame, really like them, and big-time spoiler team. They play maybe two now teams that are legitimate playoff threats in USC, Ohio State, and Clemson. Next game here, we've got number 12 Utah traveling to play Baylor, the Bears in Waco, fresh off of a loss to Texas State.
Notre Dame. They play Ohio State. They play Ohio State, USC, Clemson.
Yep.
And they play Duke. Okay?
That's true.
And I told all my listeners about 2 months ago, I said Notre Dame's going to lose 4 games in a row.
You think so?
Notre Dame's going to lose 4 games in a row. Get at me.
That's some bulletin board material.
Get at me.
All right, well, we'll see. Next game, at number 12 Utah at Baylor. Player to watch, and thoughts on this one?
My thoughts are, I told everybody to bet on this game. If you're a gambler, go bet on this game. The line was 7 this morning. It's now, I think, 8.5. We moved the line. Rico Knows moved the line. Everybody started betting on it. Here's the deal. How in the hell is it only 7.5 or 8 points? Baylor obviously lost their season opener against Texas State. They have a good rushing attack. They have 2 really good running backs. But when I look at this matchup, the player to watch is Sawyer Robertson. Sawyer Robertson is the transfer from Mississippi State. He'll be the starter because Blake Shapen's hurt. But Sawyer Robertson can't play football. This guy's thrown an interception in every game he's played in. He's only played in 2 games. But back in high school, I mean, he's 6'4", 220, but back in high school, he was the Texas State Gatorade Player of the Year. He was great. He's from Lubbock, Texas. I'm not impressed when I watch Sawyer Robertson. I don't think he's ready to even play against Utah's defense. And I think that they should be playing R.J. Martinez, who's another transfer from Northern Arizona. He actually threw for 3,500 yards last year, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. R.J. Martinez is great, and they made him third string, and they don't even play him. Wait till Robertson plays terrible, and Martinez comes in. I think if you played FCS and you threw like that at NAU, like, they got to respect you. I just saw Shedeur Sanders tear it up. Like, you could tear it up at the FBS level. Respect him.
Yeah, we've been tearing up that myth at the FBS level that quarterbacks don't translate for the last.
Shout out to Cam Ward.
Last year, paving the way. There we go. Knew he was going to get the shout out. I think not even a particular player. This Baylor offensive line. They allowed 3 sacks and 10 tackles for loss versus Texas State. Yes, Texas State has some dudes, obviously, from the portal, but that can't happen. This Utah defensive front is significantly better than that, and they only got 3.4 yards a carry, so there was no pressure being taken off of the quarterback. In comes Sawyer Robertson, who he played at the tail end of last game, like you said, didn't look great. Not a lot of faith instilled here. I don't even care if Rising is at 100% or how much he plays. I think we could be seeing Nate Johnson relatively early in this game, and frequently, I also agree with you. I'm going to take the Utes.
Yeah, I'm taking the Utes big, but seriously, the Barrington brothers, Clark Barrington is a transfer from BYU. Him and his little brother are the linemen for Baylor, and they just sucked. Like, they just stunk it up.
Yeah, it was a terrible Week 1 performance. Next game, we've got Troy at number 15 ranked Kansas State. Rico, what's your take here?
Well, Kamani Vidal leads the country in rushing right now after 1 week. Kamani Vidal, friend of the channel. I've talked to him many times. He and his father follow the channel. They send me DMs all the time. I made a video about him saying he was a hidden gem. I've been watching him since he was in high school. Used to be a running back for Marietta when they won the state title back with Eric Gilbert. Yeah, that guy who just got arrested for breaking into a hookah shop.
He's trying to steal some vapes, right?
Yeah, he's exactly. So that high school team had an amazing amount of talent. Their starting quarterback was Harrison Bailey. He went and just transferred from UNLV to Tennessee as a walk-on. Louisville as a walk-on. And Ricky White, who went to Michigan State, transferred to UNLV. So that whole high school team's amazing. I'm still a fan of Kamani Vidal. But going to K-State, you're running into a real team. DJ Giddens, to be a zero-star guy. DJ Giddens was a zero-star running back coming out of high school. And Trayshawn Ward just transferred in from Florida State. Trayshawn Ward's a 600-yard rusher, a beast of a man. And Giddens said, I don't care, I'm the starter. And Giddens won that job. I love the running backs on this team, on this game. I'm watching both sides of the ball, both running backs. I'm excited for it.
I agree. Very excited. We're on the same wavelength here. I put Kamani Vidal as well. He ran for, I think, 248 in the previous game. Is what
School
it was.
record.
This Troy team is not built like your typical Group of 5 contender, right? Their defense is what this team is built around, and they get stops. Last year, they lost 28-10 to Ole Miss, and their defense, while they did lose by 18, their defense still looked pretty good against a Lane Kiffin offense. And I look at every aspect of this game, and I feel like if I don't pick Troy, because Troy, and I know, Rico, you're going to give me a hard time about having another preseason pick here, but Troy is my Group of 5 New Year's 6 team. And when I look at them, and I look at the fact that Kansas State lost to Tulane at home last year, I say, why not? Why not? Let's go back-to-back years of that team doing it against Kansas State. Everything for me is just pointing Troy in my heart and my head, which I think is the key combo there. So I'm gonna rock with Troy, and your man Kamani is probably gonna be friends with me now.
Fair. I'm not rocking with Troy. Will Howard is him. Will Howard is a problem, and I feel like K-State wins this game. Period. End of discussion. Shout out to Troy. I think they're going to play great. I love Gunner, but we're going to be wrong here. One of us is going to be wrong, and I can afford to be wrong. I'm going with K-State.
Hey, to be fair, K-State's in my Big 12 title game this year. They're legit. I love that team as well.
How the hell are they getting there losing to Troy?
Offensive line last year. Are you kidding me?
How are they getting there if you got them losing to Troy? What's going on, man? What's going on?
What do you mean? It's not a conference game.
No, stop it.
Next game, you got to call your shots when you can, Rico.
I feel you.
Next game, we got number 20 Ole Miss at number 24 Tulane. Player to watch and your breakdown here.
So everybody's going to talk about Trey Harris. He just scored 4 touchdowns in the opening game. I talked about Trey Harris in the offseason. He's a transfer from La Tech, had 900 yards receiving last year, 10 touchdowns. Transfers to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is getting all these big names at wide receiver. I said, no, the best transfer they got is Trey Harris. He played out, but that's not who I want to watch in this game. I want to see Deshaun Gaddy. He's a transfer from North Texas. He's a corner. I want to try to see what he can do with Jaquan Jackson. Jaquan Jackson, Tulane star receiver. When you turn on the tape, stupid fast. Okay? Jaquan Jackson, Lawrence Keys the third. They can't be played with. These are 2 guys. Jaquan Jackson, Lawrence Keys the third. They got a great quarterback. Obviously, one of the best quarterbacks, I think, in rating. He had over a 200 rating last week. But I'm telling you, Jaquan Jackson and Keys the third, must-see TV for Tulane. They don't have Tajay Spears anymore. They don't have this amazing running back. They got 2 amazing wide receivers. Watch Tulane do their thing. I'm excited.
Yeah, key player to watch on the secondary. Let's go to the other side of the ball, though. I like Lance Robinson in the secondary from Tulane. He's a guy who has some key plays in the last couple big games they played. He had a key interception late against South Alabama last week, and he had a critical sack versus USC last year. And when I'm looking at this game, in order for Tulane to pull an upset, they're going to need to be making those kinds of plays throughout the game. So I'm keeping an eye on Lance Robinson and honestly the entire secondary because I think that's going to be one of the keys, especially at home, get that crowd up and rowdy.
So I want to tell you It's not Lance Robinson. There's another corner on Tulane. I just went to go look it up. I'm forgetting his name, but he's opposite of Lance. And so there's a guy named Jaden. Jaden was the star corner for Tulane, and Jaden got hurt. He got injured. Okay, and he went and transferred to Ole Miss because when he got injured. This 6'4", 6'3" corner filled in for him and played lights out and was first team all conference. I'm forgetting his name right now. But he went and started in place of Jaden. So Jaden Kennedy, who was everything, but he tore his ACL. Now he transferred to Ole Miss. I don't think he's ready to play right now. He's still injured. But it was a swap of corners, and there's something personal here. So
there is. So who's your pick, Rico?
My pick is Ole Miss. Ole Miss is winning this game.
Okay. I am too rocking with the Rebels. Got to roll with the Lane train here. Think they'll get the job done.
Jackson Dart is real.
We've got. You said what?
Jackson Dart is real.
Oh yeah. I mean, it might be something to do with Spencer Sanders' injury, because I've heard that could be an issue. Can you confirm? Is that still something he's dealing with?
Yeah, I have told you guys he needs surgery.
Yeah, but I mean the fact that he won that job out. There was also Walker Howard in that quarterback room, so definitely something that he won that job. The next game is number 23 Texas A&M traveling to play the Miami Hurricanes at Hard Rock Stadium. Rico, will there be enough fans to fill the stadium, and who's a player to watch, and what's your take here?
If it's at Miami, nobody goes to those games. It's too far away. It's terrible. But Connor Wegman is the truth for A&M. This is a young man who used to play baseball, started focusing on football, but he's firmly won this job away from Max Johnson, Brad Johnson's son. You shouldn't have transferred from LSU to come sit the bench at A&M. That's a whole nother story. But Connor Wegman looks the truth. I like what he's doing. He's got weapons. But shout out to Josh DeBerry as well. Obviously, he played amazing week one. Josh DeBerry, the all-conference, second-team all-conference ACC corner, leaving Boston College. Imagine how that feels. You're on the worst team in the world at Boston College. You transfer to A&M. You get a sack, an interception, and lead the team in tackles with 10. I love Josh DeBerry, and I love Connor Wegman.
Yeah, I'm all over Wegman as well, and Van Dyke, to be frank. I just think we're in redemption mode for these guys. Wegman, I guess it's not necessarily redemption because he was so young last year and got put into a dumpster fire and expected to just do stuff mid-season. For Van Dyke, though, it's total redemption mode, man. To have the type of season he had 2 years ago and then last year just completely fall apart. There were rumors about, I think it was his throwing arm or his shoulder, something like that last season that might have bothered him. It's such a fun game because Miami and A&M had such similar seasons last year of high preseason expectations, and they fall off. And so, I mean, all the focus and the narrative of this game, as it often is going to be, I think, on these two quarterbacks. And then once it's past the quarterbacks, it's going to be on these two coaches because Jimbo, some people think he's coaching for his job, don't know if the A&M boosters have enough money yet if it fell apart this year. And then Cristobal, a guy that's trying to beat the he's only good at recruiting allegations. So who's your pick here, Rico?
I'm taking A&M. Yeah, I think they're superiorly talented compared to Miami. I'm taking A&M, but Miami's secondary is the strength of their team. I think it's going to be rather low scoring.
Yeah, I'm going to take Texas A&M as well. I'm a little sussed out by this pick because the ACC has beaten the SEC multiple times this year already, and I know that doesn't really mean much. But
it doesn't.
That trend is alarming in my brain a little bit, but I agree. I'm rocking with the Aggies. Good to see we agree on another pick there, getting back in a stride. We've got essentially the main event. This one's a night game. Number 11, Texas, traveling to play number 3, Alabama. Rico, who do you got to watch in this game, and what's your breakdown?
Got to watch Milroe, point blank and period, right? Alabama quarterback. You got to watch Milroe. And before the season, I had Texas winning this game, and I can't go there. I got Alabama winning the game.
Yeah, it's so hard once you get into the actual thick of the season, making a pick this ballsy, I guess is the only word I can think of. Player to watch, I'd say Quinn, and I'd say Donnie Mitchell, and I'd say Isaiah Nair. Can he come and make an impact? Is he fully recovered from that knee injury? We only saw him a little bit last week. And then obviously Xavier Worthy, he's going to be getting a lot of attention as well. From the receivers, like, can those receivers make a difference? Because Quinn Ewers, and you probably already know this, he disappeared in some critical games last year, and they had to rely so heavily on Bijan that it was brutal. They had that game versus Oklahoma State, I think it was last year, where Quinn was just hucking balls like
Bro.
20 yards over receivers' heads. So we can't see that Quinn Ewers in this game. I think the winner of this game, this is a hot take for you, I think the winner of this game, I don't want to say is going to the playoffs, but I'd say the path is very clear for the winner of this game to go to the playoffs, especially for Texas with the TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech losses. That Big 12 looks a lot more open now, and Texas was already the favorite. Pressure is mounting on them. I think I'm going to take Alabama. I really wanted to pick Texas.
All that shit to tell me you're taking Alabama.
Taking Alabama, I got to rock the Tide for that one. I already had my Troy pick. I had my fun earlier in the show. But toss this one in a little late, but I think it's critical to talk about because we've already talked about him so much, and the ticket prices and the mainstream has picked it up. Everybody's talking about it. Nebraska at Colorado. Who's a player to watch?
Colorado, watch Jimmy Horn Jr. He's a beast. Smooth as hell. I'll just go like that. It's a good time.
Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards is a guy that was not on my radar, and I love him. I think you can already tell I love him based on – he wasn't on my radar because with Colorado, I feel like – I probably mentioned him. I think his name shows up in the bag. He's a guy you look at, but there's so many other players.
No, Budge. Budge. Do you follow Well Off Media?
Nope.
Exactly. Well Off Media, that's Deion Sanders Jr., his channel on YouTube. Well Off Media shows you clips of practice at Colorado. When you watch Colorado at practice, one player is faster than everyone. One player breaks for a touchdown every 4 or 5 plays. There's nothing they can do about it. He just goes. And it's Dylan Edwards from the jump, the best player. It's not even funny.
And I mean, I've got to admit that I didn't really – he was not on my radar going into that game. And I remember he'd already made several big plays at that point, but there was that sideline pass on, like, the wheel route.
Yeah.
Where multiple defenders had an angle.
Gone.
And unlike I've ever seen, Edwards just went, nope, sideline touchdown. And it was just, like, literally mind-blowing.
So he ran a 4.38 40. Him and Jimmy Horn Jr. at practice ran a 4.38 40. They're the two fastest guys on the team. But Edwards is faster than anybody the first 20 meters. His acceleration is 10. Like, his acceleration is on 100. It's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. So definitely watch him in this game. I like Colorado in a close one. I think the home field advantage is going to play a big role here. That place is going to be rocking, and I don't think you can trust Jeff Sims in a close game, especially with that performance he just turned in.
Colorado by 20.
There we go. You heard it here first. Vegas is still not knowing what they're doing with, what is that, a 3-point spread, I think?
Colorado by 20.
All right, there it is. So last pick here. This is the Last Dance Tour game. Rico, you may have picked this up a little bit, but I go to a game every week. Or I'm trying to, at the very least. Last Dance Tour game this week is going to be number 13, Oregon at Texas Tech. Very similar vibes to the Utah-Baylor game here. A Big 12 team that's kind of reeling and a ranked Pac-12 team. Who's a player to watch here, and what's your take here?
I've loved Dre McCray all offseason. It's the only guy I want to talk about from Texas Tech. Unfortunately, one reception in the first game. They didn't get him the ball enough. I want you to see Gary Bryant Jr., USC's finest. Receiver just transferred in, made his way into the 2 deep, and they're utilizing the hell out of him. 7 receptions, 2 touchdowns, 100 yards. Gary Bryant Jr., in high school, he played at Corona Centennial, along with a guy named Corey Foreman, who's now he's still at USC, he just doesn't play. He was the number one overall recruit. So Corey Foreman, Gary Bryant Jr., and they had another guy. He transferred to Fresno State. But all 3 of them went to USC. None of them worked out for USC. And they were 10th in the nation. They're public school. It's really hard for a public high school to get ranked nationally. And Corona Centennial was everything. They're still a great team till this day. But Gary Bryant Jr., I'm just glad he's actually seeing the field and doing his damn thing. So shout out to him.
Shout out to Rand Bradley, the receiver for Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Guy I had my eye on this offseason. He did really good late in that game versus Wyoming as well. Unfortunately, they couldn't get back into it. I feel just as good about this Texas Tech team after that. I mean, not just as good. It's the Texas Tech team. That night game against a Mountain West opponent in week 1 is going to be tough. The entire Oregon defensive front is another headliner there. You've got the transfer Jordan Birch, obviously, but you have a lot of existing guys there that were already building up. This is an SEC defensive front on the Ducks, and it's, I think, the best one out west, or arguably the best one out west. So I think that's going to be really tough for the Red Raiders to overcome. But, Rico, who you got here?
I got Oregon, and I think it's going to be a shootout.
I think I wrote down Oregon, but I'm going to flip. I'm going to go Texas Tech for the vibes. I just got invited to a frat tailgate in Lubbock, and I think it'll be a lot easier to attend that if I pick Texas Tech, and I've got that on the old graphic. So I'm going to rock with the Red Raiders. Let's wreck them. Pretty high in the Ducks too this year, but honestly, I think you gotta take it when you can. And I don't want only one upset pick. Let's go with another one. I got the Red Raiders.
You got it, brother. Good luck.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. We only disagreed on 2 picks there, I think. So could age pretty well if we all get the right ones. Maybe split one of those 2 and only miss one each. But it's you can talk about the main events and then you can talk about the big games where one team is heavily favored. But I don't like to just talk about that and say, oh yeah, USC is just going to splatter Stanford. That's why I have the upset alert meter, which operates on a scale from no chance, shot in the dark, puncher's chance, upset alert, and it's happening. Call your shot. So we've got 5 games here for the upset alert meter. We're going to start with Stanford at number 6 USC. What's your take here?
No chance.
I'm 100% with you. Actually, I'm 80% with you. I'm going to go shot in the dark only because of Stanford disease. Stanford, a couple years ago, had no shot against like the number 3 Oregon team that had dispatched Ohio State earlier that year. Bunch of weird stuff happened. They got to win. It's a disease.
No, it was David Shaw. It was David Shaw, and he's not there anymore. Don't do this.
That's true. Yeah, you can't hate on Troy Taylor. He's turning in.
I love Troy Taylor. Don't do that. I love Troy Taylor.
Okay, well that's good. I'm just making sure you're not saying something that you're not saying.
No.
But we'll get to the next game. App State at number 17, North Carolina. Where does it rank on the upset meter?
No chance. App State's only strength is Nate Noel. He's a hell of a running back, by the way. But you can't run on this team. They just held South Carolina to -2 rushing yards. They have a real defensive front. If you think App State's going to beat them and South Carolina couldn't, no, not happening. Not happening.
I think I'm a little more optimistic than you, Rico. I also put this one at shot in the dark. I said, look at the way this game played out last year. App State's a team that I think some people could have been a year early on from last season.
Wow,
So
man,
I'm putting shot in the dark. Rico, these could age really bad if you just go no chance on all these.
I'm not going – you're asking me questions. I'm just answering, bro.
No, I got you. Next up, we've got SMU at number 18, Oklahoma.
It was no chance, shot in the dark, puncher's chance?
Yep.
Puncher's chance.
Alert, it's happening.
Puncher's chance.
Okay, puncher's chance. Why are you saying puncher's chance now? Now you got to explain.
All right, puncher's chance. SMU had 31 points at the half this week. They kind of shut it down because they didn't want to show anything else on film. But SMU is one of those teams in my top 10 in the transfer portal. They rebuilt their team with everybody. They have a great defensive coordinator in Scott Simons. He's the defensive coordinator that was at Liberty moving over. He brought Ahmed Walker with him. He brought Chris Megason, Ghost. And he brought just so many great players in the transfer portal. Shout out to Cam Robertson, also moving over from North Texas. I really like SMU. I think they're going to make waves in the group of 5. It's a lot to say that they're going to beat Oklahoma, but I don't know, man. Like, I feel like SMU can play football with Oklahoma. And Oklahoma, they played the worst team in America. So we don't really know how good they are.
They did. I don't know why that line was 35. It was a horrible line, but I'm gonna go shot in the dark here. I mean, I'm in a similar territory with you. I kind of baited you for that one because I know SMU is another one of those portal teams. They're the best group of 5 portal teams.
I love them.
Or maybe not according to your rankings actually, but according to some of the other guys, they're the best. But next up, we have 19 Wisconsin traveling to play Washington State.
So who's the underdog? Washington State?
Washington State's the underdog.
Upset alert. Upset alert for sure. That's very possible. You got Cam Ward just threw for 450 yards. Like, he can go out there and light you up. Mess around. Fafo, right? Fuck around and find out. Fafo. I'm serious. Washington State's nice. I'm not saying they're doing it, but upset alert is there.
I'm with you 100%. Upset alert. This team beat Wisconsin last year as a big underdog on the road, and you've got the same squad. Yes, they lost some talented linebackers this offseason in the transfer portal, but this is a defense that always plays better than they look on paper, especially under Dickert in that first year. And then offensively, you're right. They've got a star. They've just got to get things figured out. I was really high on Wisconsin for a good part of this offseason. But I kind of, as the offseason went on, I started to ease off of it a little bit because I feel like we're asking a lot of Luke Fickell in year 1 at Wisconsin. Even though they made some great portal additions, I feel like when I'm looking at that Big Ten West, even though it is a wide open division, I trust Brett Bielema's squad more than I trust Wisconsin.
Oh, that's gross.
You're not rocking with Brett Bielema.
No, not at all. That's Illinois, right?
That's Illinois.
I'm pretending like I don't know what team he coaches. I'm pretending like I don't know what team he coaches. Of course it's Illinois. Let me tell you something about Illinois. They lost 4 games last year. They shouldn't have lost. They had amazing talent, okay? NFL talent.
Rico, you can't do that to me. You can't fake me out like that.
No, bro. I'm sorry. I just don't like Brett. He got his money. He got his big check. But he lost his defensive coordinator in Ryan Walters. He lost his linebackers coach. He lost a lot of defensive continuity. And I just don't see it, man. I just don't see how good they are. But anyways, I'll let it go.
All right, we'll get to the last one here. We got Iowa at Iowa State. The Hawkeyes are the favorites here.
It's happening. It's happening. Iowa State is going to score points that Iowa could never dream of. Okay? Fire Brian Ferentz. Like, it's happening, bro. Iowa State is going to rebound from their gambling mishaps. It's happening. Now, don't put your money where your mouth is, but I'm being real. Like, if there's any of these upsets have a chance, that one's the only one I can think of.
Rico, we started off rough in this segment, but we both got on the same page for the end. It's happening. I'm with you. Why are we selling on Matt Campbell and the Cyclones right now? They're taking the Cy-Hawk Trophy this year, especially because they're hosting this game.
If that's what you think, why? I just think Iowa sucks.
It's a great segue, too, because that's the next segment is our betting locks. Rico, I asked you for 2 locks. Are there 2 locks? Or maybe not even locks. Let's not use that word because, betting.
Oh, I'll use locks. I'll use locks. I don't mind. So my 2 locks.
There we go.
Yeah, my 2 locks. Utah, I don't know what the line is now, but when I looked it up, it was minus 7.5 over Baylor. So that's a lock for me. The other lock is going to be Washington 34.5 over Tulsa. They're going to rip Tulsa to shreds, and Tulsa doesn't even know who's going to be their starting quarterback. Tulsa's it's bare as hell, and Washington's going to score a ton of points. So give me Washington over Tulsa 34.5, and give me Utah to cover that spread over Baylor for sure.
There we go. There's been something in the water with those big spreads and those teams just running up the score late. You had the Oregon, the Oklahoma,
Yep.
the Ole Miss, the Syracuse. Like, there was a lot of 60, 70-plus points scored. So I think in the context of Washington, that could be a good bet. Virginia, minus 3.5 versus Purdue. At Lane Stadium, Purdue got shredded this offseason. Yes, they have Ryan Walters as their coach. And Hudson Card's a guy I do like, but it's minus 3.5 for Virginia Tech.
Oh,
and,
Virginia Tech.
I trust what they did this year.
Yeah, I thought you said Virginia, and I was like, they're playing JMU, and that's scary.
No. That would have been terrifying. I'm never betting on Virginia this year. I don't trust that team at all, and I don't think Elliott's going to take them anywhere. But other game, and you're going to hate this, Rico, these are 2 of my betting darlings, 2 of the ones that always hit for me, Kansas and Illinois. I'm going to take Illinois plus 3. This one has since moved, I think, to like 2.5 or something, but I got it at 3, so I'm taking it at 3. I think Illinois plus 3 versus Kansas could be a really, really good bet because I really think this team is going to be well this year, and with Altmaier at the helm, I think we're going to see them reach their potential. I really liked the resilience they showed against Toledo last week. Still, they could have easily lost that game. It took a last-minute drive for him to hit that field goal. Some people are going to see that as a weakness. I see that as a strength. I like them in Lawrence against the Jayhawks.
Yeah, dude, if you're struggling with a MAC team, there's nothing strong about you.
Hey, you can't boil down Toledo to just a MAC team. They got some
if you're struggling with a MAC team, there's nothing strong about you.
All right, we'll see how that one ages.
Yes, sir.
I'm feeling that one. That's a lock, actually. So you can't argue it. But this is how we like to end the show when we got a guest. It's been great so far, Rico.
Appreciate you, brother.
You being on. But the last segment here is going to be fact or fiction. This is your time to shine. I'm going to deliver some statements to you, and you're going to tell me whether they are fact or fiction. So everything clear?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. Fact or fiction, Colorado is a legit Pac-12 contender.
Fiction.
Okay, there we go. Just wanted to clarify that. Some people maybe might not know where you're going. Fact or fiction, the most annoying thing a follower or commenter can say is, why do you hate fill-in-the-blank team?
Fiction. The most annoying thing anyone can say to me is, Georgia's good, and I'm an Alabama fan. Or,
Yes.
and I'm a Texas fan. I would never say this, but because I'm a fan of this other team, I'm finally going to be honest and tell the truth and be accurate. That shit bugs me, and I'm a so-and-so fan.
I am with you actually 100%. That is one of the that drives me bonkers because I'm like, what are you saying? How does that impact your opinion?
I don't get it. It'll be like, yeah, I like this, and I'm a Texas fan. I would never say that. It's like, so you would never be accurate. You would never tell the truth. Like, what are you saying to me? I hate that shit.
You're still just as wrong. Yeah, I don't know. Fact or fiction, the national champion will come out of the SEC this year.
Fiction. Fiction.
Oh, okay, there we go. Fact or fiction, Hawaii is a dark horse Mountain West contender.
Let's go fact.
There we go. I like it. I've got my buddy Cole. He was the guest last week. He's a huge Hawaii fan.
Good for him.
He'll appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
He always looks for Hawaii coverage, and he doesn't get it frequently. I think I sent him your Hawaii transfer portal recap, and he loved that. He was like, "That's so cool, man."
Yep. Tell him search #Hawaii, #Rico Knows, and he'll find every video I've ever made on Hawaii.
I'll send him that way. Fact or fiction, transfer portal coverage by the national media is lazy.
Oh, fucking fact. Until I become national media, I feel like I am, but until I become national media, it's lazy as hell. Fact.
There we go. Fact or fiction, you have a twin brother.
That is a fact.
There we go. I wanted to clarify that. Some people get confused.
Morons.
I know there's been some. Fact or fiction, 2 top 10 teams will lose in week 2.
Texas isn't a top 10 team?
Texas is 11, actually.
So that's fiction. That's fiction. Yeah, no. That's
okay, fiction. We got a fiction there. Fact or fiction, Power 5 coaches could begin getting fired in year 1 as a result of what Deion's doing.
I think that's fiction. I think it's fiction.
Okay, if you think that's fiction, you think his isn't going to affect.
I don't think every coach. Yeah, I don't think every coach has the ability to flip their roster with the transfer portal, right? So you got to have certain metrics. Yes. You got to have certain metrics. You got to be charismatic, have an innovative offensive scheme, maybe be near a talent-rich state or location. Got to have pro pedigree or put people into the pros. If you don't have these metrics, you can't really flip your roster. Let me give you an example. Indiana and Akron. You can go look this up. I think they've brought in over 30 transfers in the last 2 years combined. So they flipped their roster. Between 2 recruiting classes and 30 transfers total, Indiana and Akron have flipped their rosters. But Tom Allen and Joe Moorhead, these coaches are not as charismatic. They did not hire offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators that can go out and do the job. So they're not having the same level of success. You can duplicate what he's done, but you can't duplicate the end result or the product, and that's the problem. So if you start having that level of expectation for every hire and every coach, it's absurd. But look at the young guys. Kenny Dillingham got all the recruits, and he's winning, and he won. So we'll see what happens. But young guys, charismatic, G.J. Kinney, right? You got to have the right structure, the right location, the right everything before you hold them to that standard. So I'm going to say fiction at this moment.
Yeah, for Tom Allen, that's kind of an interesting case study. A guy that was able to turn in an 8-win season at Indiana and then another great season in the COVID year. But as the landscape has shifted, he might be one of those guys that's struggling to keep up. Like you said, he's trying to do the portal, but maybe can't do it as well.
Well, he lost Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah, he did. Although he did, he was injured for that whole year, huh? That was the year he tore his ACL, which is, yeah. So next one, fact or fiction, Clemson still has a shot to make the ACC title game.
I'm going to go fiction. Go fiction.
Okay. I was hoping you would say fact so I could get you on video and saying Clemson was good.
Not a chance, brother. Not a chance.
And then we got the last one here. Fact or fiction, Duke will win more than 8 games.
Fact.
We got a fact there. Preseason Rico Knows top 25 team that absolutely shined. Rico, I appreciate you coming on the show, being a guest. We went a little over an hour. It's the first time this podcast has gone over an hour, but I wouldn't do it with anyone else. this is another chance for you to plug anything you got going on and all your stuff.
Just, go to YouTube, go to TikTok, search Rico Knows. If you're ever curious if I've made a video on something or my thought process on something, when you go into TikTok, do a search. Hashtag Rico Knows, then hit the space bar. Hashtag whatever topic you're looking for. You can do hashtag USC, hashtag Texas State, hashtag Ball State. I don't give a shit what it is. You might find that I've made 10 videos on that particular school or topic. So, hey, Budge, I appreciate you having me on, brother. I really do. I know we have seamless chemistry. We just get along. So I don't mind coming on and hanging out with you, dude. I respect everything you're doing. I wish you the best, and I hope you continue, great success, brother.
Hey, thank you, Rico. Appreciate it. Fantastic having Rico on and all his insight. I appreciate everyone that stuck around in the YouTube live and over there on Rico's end. I know he's streaming over there as well. So I appreciate everyone in the chat that was interacting, liking, doing all that stuff. Great show. Really enjoyed the time we had here today. But that is all we have from In the Trenches, live from Phoenix, Arizona, and live from Georgia over there. And you guys have a good week.
Thank you very much, Tyler. Peace.
There we go.
All right, man. I'm gonna close out with my people. I got about 50 people over here I want to say what's up to, but I appreciate everything.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it looks like you're already uploaded, so you're good to go. But hey, appreciate you coming on, man.
You got it, brother. Have a good night. Out. All right, guys. So that went well. I apologize if you guys couldn't hear Budge all the way. I'm gonna go back and read the chat. There's not much chat to read, so let me get to it and we'll go from there. This guy says, let's go. 2 college football creators on TikTok finally collabing. Word. Love to see it. Yep. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Evan. Thank you guys for being here. Sorry if you guys couldn't hear him all that clearly. It was coming out of my phone, and I didn't know how to turn on my Omni or turn off my Omni and get it all, but oh well. SEC talk tomorrow. Yes, Kobe. Thank you. I'm a Longhorns fan. Can't wait till we flop and you expose us. That's not cool, man. I'm not trying to expose nobody. I don't enjoy that. Let me go back up here. Love your channel, Rico. Thank you, Daniel. W. Always have to pop in the stream. Thank you, Try Glassin. It's 32 people here. Hit that like button. Howdy, y'all. Hammer that like button. Thank you. Let's go, Rico. Can barely hear the other guy. Sorry about that. I couldn't turn them up. It was on my phone at max volume. I drive by the resiliency model. Keeps me alive in the Metroplex. Shout out to you, Steve. The Clemson call sunk you. Can't forgive you for that. Sorry. I don't know what that means. TCU got amazingly fortunate. Oh, you're talking about Tyler? You're talking about Budge? It wasn't me, bro. TCU got amazingly fortunate last year. Garrett riding his brother's success. Yeah, I don't think Garrett's any good, just so we're clear. Realistically, there are about 15 teams with an honest chance. Georgia Bulldogs will be there in the Final Four. Even if they lose the SEC championship game, their schedule's pathetic. If it's pathetic, then why are they here, bro? How is it pathetic? They play in the SEC, the strongest conference in the world. Steve, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart, brother. Thank you so much. Georgia Bulldogs will be there in the Final Four. Texas-Bama is the game of the week. Rico, you have to ignore these folks. Shout out to you, Ken Davis. Your overall knowledge of the big picture is much more than 99.9% of the population. I'd like to think so. Thank you so much, Ken Davis. Certain teams can't stockpile quarterbacks and wide receivers anymore. Exactly. Rico cannot hear your guest. I cannot hear your guest. It doesn't matter. Volume is good here, just Budge is a bit soft. Colorado defense still a huge concern, obviously. Branch looked like Tavon Austin, yes. I cannot hear. My bad. Caleb better than Baker, breaking news. Maybe hit the like button. Maybe hit the sound button. He moved the mic closer. Yep. Rico Beef is the best. Pause. Hey, I hate that dude. Hey, I really do hate Danny Armstrong, just so we're clear. That's the uncle. Shout out to Rico Knows. At least on his podcast, we can hear both parties. Can't hear Rico on the other guys. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, he turned it off on live. Hi, can't hear my homie. My bad. Pretty sure KSU won't overlook them. They won't. I'm biased because I work with Troy football, but give me Troy. Word. Understandable. Literally worked scouting reports for KSU, LMAO. The nicer the location, it is harder to stadium. Inverse, generally also true. Well done. Got to start quick in Manhattan, K-State. Yeah, and can't have a bad quarter like we do. Thank you for the super chat, T-Ray. I'm glad I could make it tonight. Thank you so much. This was just the interview tonight. Obviously, I did my podcast earlier. If you want to go catch that, it's posted under the live tab. But I appreciate all the support. You guys make my life possible. Been to too many games in Little Apple. They have a formula I've cheered against every time. Legit got Ty Bowman, junior wide receiver. Yep. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Dylan's dad was really good. Uncle was the most impressive player I played with. Kids got the DNA. Word. Corey Feynman's been playing everywhere. Relax. I knew that. Which fraternity? They deserve a shout-out. Stop that. I'll never hang out with a fraternity. Drake May made some bad decisions in the game. Got a little lucky. -2 rushing yards, guys. Wazoo with a 40% shot. Feels like Illinois versus KU should be the last game. Iowa would struggle scoring on a Kardashian. Damn. Jeff Smetting is not it. That man was rough for Auburn last year. Cam Warden will play good, but Wisconsin will run down the field. Yep, horrible pick. Kansas clears, just better. Yeah, I believe so. At home, getting quarterback back, me running to find a bookie, and I don't bet. I guarantee Colorado will not be a Pac-12 contender next year. What a guarantee, Liam. Liam, you went out on the edge. Ha ha ha. Thoughts on Texas State this week, Rico? I like Texas State. Rico the GOAT. Thank you very much, Gary Gladden. We heard his great man. Nice podcast. Xavier Gilroy, Idaho State transfer to ASU, a name to remember. I've made a video on Xavier Gilroy. I made a video on him. I like that guy. He seems very genuine. Yeah, Tyler Budge is very genuine. He's a young man. You know, I'm helping him out as much as possible, and we just share knowledge and information. But he's a good kid. I like that guy a lot. Crap, I didn't know you would read these. Always. What up, bro? Just saying what up. I'll get at you later. What up, LGZ7E Money? Another good show. Thank you, Lewis. It only matters at the time before Rico gets the call from one of these recruiting networks. Yeah, I say 9 months max. Well, I've been at this for 9 months, and they don't like me. I did get a writer from 24/7 reach out to me just to tell me that I need to back off and stop saying negative things about them because they're doing the best they can, and they don't all have the time to do it. They work hours like anybody else. And I'm like, oh, well, I work hours too. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate everybody. Peace. Good night, y'all. Thank you for the tips.